and he rocks the baseball world. So we will 58th birthday. So I just wanted to shout out and say, Darwin Penny, Coach 24, we miss you, we love you, and we can't wait for you to come back. But we love the fact that you've been bringing today, and we will see you soon. So let's get to the Royals. The Royals go into Cleveland, and they kind of dragged a little bit at home against the Philadelphia Phillies. They win the first game Friday night, and then they lose the second game, and then they just cannot win the rubber match and ended up losing 2 out of 3. So then we go to Cleveland, and people are going, oh, no, this is going to happen again. But something changed.
The good news is we can beat Cleveland. We know that. That's proven. How exciting is it for Kansas City and the fans to be tied for first place yesterday? I mean, that was absolutely phenomenal. I think this I've been on Facebook, and I've talked to a lot of people, a lot of Royals, ex-Royals players, stuff like that. They are very excited to see what's going to come up this next month and a half.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you can't not but be excited. I mean, even Coach 24 sent me a text, and he goes, how does it feel that the Royals are in first place? And it was like, man, it felt awesome. So, yeah, and they did it with lack of starting pitching against Cleveland. I mean, they totally struggled. So the bullpen came in and just were rocks. And the fourth game, yesterday's game, yeah, you could see that they were spent. And even Urseg, who had a 0 ERA during his time with Kansas City, finally broke down and gave up a run or two. Yep. Saying that, now they've got to go to Houston. They're in Houston right now. They will be playing roughly about 15 minutes after this show is over, and they have a key 4-game series with the Astros. And the Astros had been piddling around second place, and as Seattle was going, but then Seattle has done their massive collapse, and Houston has just taken over. So here's another team that the Royals are going to have to match.
I think anytime you go to Houston, you got to be very prepared.
Yes.
Houston, in the last 6-7 years, have proven themselves, especially in a later part of the season, that they're very competitive. They finally get their act together, I guess you could say. And next thing you know, they start winning ball games. And talking about the Royals pitching in the late innings, if you've seen in the last month, the 6, 7, 8 innings, we've been losing a lot of baseball games, and all of a sudden in the last week we've been winning those games. So the Royals seem to have maybe fixed that a little bit. I mean, it's a progress, and we hope it just keeps getting better.
Well, absolutely. But the Houston Astros have a great starting lineup or starting pitching, so that is going to be the key. So our starting pitching, who has kind of slacked off a little bit, needs to step up. We just lost Lorenzen, who had been really big for us until he got injured on Tuesday, and it's just now they're just going to have to buckle down because it's near the end of the season. Players are getting hurt, and people are getting thrown at, like Bobby Witt Jr., and to me, that was total bogus there.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where the Royals have proven whenever they've gone to the World Series, whether it be 1980, 85, or the last couple they've had, when September comes around, the Royals play harder. And they've proven that every year. So, man, we just hope they do the same thing. However, it is the Kansas City Royals, and if you look at our squad numbers-wise, we shouldn't be where we're at. I think we're playing on a lot of emotion. We're playing on a lot of grit, and that's what the Royals have always been like in the years they've been to the World Series.
I think they have the similar team camaraderie of 13, 14, and 15 with Ned Yost, because Ned Yost, you would figure Ned Yost was going to get fired. In fact, at one point, he was close to getting fired, but they stuck with him, and that was the best move. The team just bonded together, and this is kind of the same team. The only difference is that we've got players on here. We've got Witt, we've got Salvi, we have Pasquantino, who are really jumping up in the numbers collection. Usually it's just a bunch of guys, everybody contributes, but those three guys are really the big guys. And then you've got the secondary players who are coming
who are
in.
lighting it up right now. If you look at our 6, 7, 8 hitters in the last 2 weeks, they just been on fire, and that's what this team needs. Because I'm going to be honest with you, when you're playing baseball day in and day out, you can't do it every day. I don't care who your name is. I don't care what, you're going to have an off day, and you need those late hitters to come in and do their job. And today, this week, and the last couple weeks, they have been doing it.
Yes, absolutely. And so with that, they are in their gauntlet right now, or as Josh Verner says, the riptide. And it's so because after they play Houston, they play Cleveland again, and then they play Minnesota. They have the day off because next Thursday, I'm hoping that I won't hit this traffic because Chiefs Nation is going to be roaming big time. But then after Minnesota, they play New York, they play Pittsburgh, and they play Detroit. And Detroit right now is 5.5 games out of the third wild card spot. They are over 500. So now the Central, who has been the laughing stock of the league the last several years, have now 4 teams that are over 500.
Yeah, and when you talk about that, it's all about if you look at like the big markets like the East, who has Boston, who has New York and stuff like that, they can afford all these players. If you look at the Twins, and if you look at Detroit, and if you look at the White Sox, and you look at our division, we have that division has the lowest market of any of Major League Baseball. And so when we're talking about the camaraderie of the Kansas City Royals, that team plays together well. It's been no secret for decades that Kansas City has one of the best farm teams, and we really do. The problem is, we like to trade people.
Right.
It's part of the game, but at the same time, all of our players play together, and they play together well because they've played together for a long time.
Right, absolutely. And Dayton Moore did a phenomenal job in the teens, the 2000 teens, in getting right players. But I think it was time for him to move, and J.J. Piccolo stepped in, and now he is doing the exact same thing. He brought in guys at the trading deadline, and virtually all of them, with the exception of Harvey, has produced, especially DeYoung and Urseg. They are just totally just dominating. And like I said, Urseg had a bad game yesterday. Hey, you're going to have one. I mean, even Tony Gwynn, think about it. Tony Gwynn was a lifetime .338 hitter. So that means he got out 62% of the time. I mean, it's going to happen. I mean, this is the one sport where you fail more than you produce.
Yeah, and, I play golf. So I fail a lot there, so I feel what they're going through, probably even worse. So, I mean, I understand what they're going through, and I've also played baseball, and I get that. But at the same time, though, the mentality of baseball, the mentality of golf, and you know how it is. You hit a home run in baseball, you're right back in it. Just like that. You hit a great shot in golf, you're right back in it. And that's the way baseball is.
Right.
So I really do appreciate that a lot.
Oh, absolutely. So, I mean, the team does not give up. I will give them that. I mean, but saying that, I was around the 1977 season where they won 102 games and lost 60. They had the best season ever in a Royals uniform. And I would still, as an 11-year-old kid, would still get mad when they lost every game. So, yes, we get upset every time they lose, but it's just because we are passionate fans. And it's just the nature of the beast. So, but saying that, you've got Bobby Witt Jr. Now, you've got Seth Lugo right now. He's not going to win the Cy Young. I mean, he would have to just like virtually throw shutouts and throw 9-inning shutouts the next 3 or 4 starts in order to do that. But Bobby Witt has a chance to win the MVP. But, I mean, you've got Aaron Judge to deal with. And I'm telling you what, I'm a Bobby Witt homer. So I would pick a Bobby Witt, but man, Aaron Judge is just totally destroying the ball.
Well, I mean, as a hitter, Aaron Judge is definitely a better ball player. Even if he just sticks his bat out there, he's going to get a base hit. He just puts a little swing into it because he's such a big guy. He's going to hit a home run. Fielding, I think Witt has a little bit more of an advantage. Infielders tend to have a little bit more an advantage than an outfielder because I'm not saying outfielding is a hard position to play because it is very tough. But how big is Aaron Judge? 6'7", 320 pounds, something like that. He's a big boy.
He's a big man.
So to play the outfield, you don't have to be that fast.
Right.
Your reflexes don't have to be that quick. Now, don't call in and be giving me a lot of slack about this, but the shortstop position is the hardest spot, and second base as well is the hardest spot to play in Major League Baseball by far.
Oh yeah, I mean, and usually when you're in Little League, where was your best player pitching or playing?
Yep.
They were either pitching or they were playing shortstop.
Yep, absolutely.
And
Yep.
so, and Bobby Witt, he has the speed. Darwin, Coach 24, talked about there's really hardly any five-tool players. Now, scouts will say, yeah, this man is a five-tool player and everything else. But Coach 24 said, no, not everybody has that five-tool player. Right. Bobby Witt Jr. is a five-tool player. He can hit for power. He can hit for average. He can run. He can throw. I mean, he has all of the five tools that needs to do that. So,
I would say he's probably the front runner right now for MVP. He has to be, regardless where the Royals make it to a play. If the Royals make it deep into the playoffs, he is sewn up. He has it. There's no doubt in my mind. It's a sad fact that the farther you go into playoffs, go to the World Series, you win the World Series, you're probably going to win the MVP as well. But numbers-wise, stats-wise, defense and offense, he's the number one. He's one of the best players in Major League Baseball. The only difference would be is if Ohtani was pitching, then there's another conversation we're going to have.
Right. And bring in him. Do you think he is better than Judge or Witt or both right now?
Absolutely. Not right now. But when he was pitching and hitting, absolutely. It's unheard of to have to come in and pitch, because you've played the game, and I don't know if you've ever pitched. I've pitched in Little League. But, like, to pitch and pitch and pitch, you're using everything you got, every play. Then to get up to the bat and try to hit is absolutely ridiculous. But that's how he was trained. We can talk about other things about being trained, about the sixth inning thing we talked about. But at the same time, though, it's literally insane that he does a little bit of both. Now he's just batting due to injuries, and he's still probably one of the best hitters out there.
He's on the verge to being the second player ever to go 50-50, 50 home runs, 50 steals. So that combines power and speed. So take a little bit of Bobby Witt, take a little bit of Aaron Judge, and then you've got Ohtani.
Yeah.
So, and I think right now he's at 42 home runs and 41 stolen bases or something like that, and you still have another month of baseball.
He'll definitely reach that. There's no doubt in my mind.
Right. So. And DeCoy, his dog, did really good at doing the first pitch yesterday, and so I know he's a lot better than some of those players. They'll bring him in. But anyway, so you've got Cleveland now, who is really struggling, and I really think that when they hit Bobby Witt Jr., I think that was all out of frustration because they were expecting the Royals to kind of fall apart. The Royals would come in, and then Cleveland would go, okay, it's time to get back on our go and everything. And they did not. They just totally fell apart. And if it wasn't for the collapse in the last three innings of the Royals pitchers, we would have swept, or the Royals would have swept all four.
Right, yeah. And the thing about it is I think Cleveland is one of those teams as well as the Royals have to be. They're trying to prove themselves as well. It's been a while for Cleveland, and so the Cleveland fans want it. I mean, the Cleveland fans are some of the most diehard fans I've ever seen in my lifetime. And so, hats off to Cleveland. I think they got a great team and a great organization, but I just don't think they're sustainable through these next 5-6 weeks.
Well, I know their pitching was supposed to be pretty good, but that's going to be to see. So now, like I said, we've got Houston, and with that, Houston is going to make the playoffs. There's going to be nobody else in the West. Then you've got four teams in the Central. You've got Cleveland, Royals, Minnesota, and Detroit. I'm going to say Detroit is going to look good, but they will probably fall out. And then you've got the East. You've got Boston, you've got New York, and you've got Baltimore. So out of those, who do you think is going to be on the outside looking in?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you can never count out Boston. You can never count out the Yankees. It's one of those things that, they are the bigger teams in the league, and numbers will speak for themselves. There's a reason why they have a ring of pennants around Yankee Stadium. You know what I mean? I don't care who is on the Yankees. They have some of the best talent, and they can rally, I think, at any time.
Absolutely. So, and saying this, and I still think that the winner of the East, Orioles and Yankees, is going to be the number 1 seed. The Royals have a shot at being the number 2 seed. If they can win the division in the Central, then I believe they can be the 2nd seed. Now, if they end up beating the Yankees in New York, which actually now they're saying that the Royals have, the 5th best road record right now? They are 41 or 31 or 34 and 31 right now with their road record. So
I knew a couple weeks ago we had like the 3rd or 4th best. So we're doing phenomenal on the road right now.
Right.
Yeah.
We're doing absolutely.
Yeah.
So if you can go into New York, especially in a hostile place like that, and if you can at least go 2 out of 3 or even sweep them, then I can say that the Royals even have a shot at the number 1 seed. So
yeah, it's going to be it's going to come down. I think it's really just going to come down to the Twins and the Yankees. If we can win a majority of those games there, I think we're going to go, all right, focus. But we've really gone through a lot right there. In fact, I'm going to be in New York for the Royals game. So I went to the A's games in New York. I love New York. I go to New York a lot, and I went to Yankee Stadium for the A's game this year, and it was a great time. But let me tell you something about anybody that walks into Yankee Stadium. It's intimidating. I don't really care. You walk in there, you see the pennants, you see, Babe Ruth and all these players, you're just like, oh my goodness, it's crazy. It's intimidating to walk into Yankee Stadium. So anybody that can walk out of there with a win is doing great.
Okay, and I know this is the new Yankee Stadium. Have you been in the old Yankee Stadium?
I was in both.
Okay,
yep.
So
it's the same.
What is it exactly the same?
Exactly the same.
Oh, okay. Because a lot of times you go from one stadium and then you jump into another stadium and then it's not quite the same. So.
Yeah. The thing about Yankees will always have is, like we talked about it, they've got them ring of pennants. When you look in the outfield and you see all those pennants, you know you're walking into a club that's dominated baseball and probably have won the most pennants ever in baseball. In fact, they have. And so when you look at that, it's intimidating. I don't care if they're coming into September, 50 and 70, it doesn't matter. You walk in Yankee Stadium, it's a big league game. You know you've made it to the big leagues.
Right. So, with that, I want your aspect on these new rules. How have the new rules benefit baseball, and how have the new rules not benefit baseball?
Which ones?
Okay. Well, we got the time clock, but the time clock was supposed to speed up the game, and it has, but it really hasn't made the game more offensively. I mean, yes, you get more games. You have a few games. I know yesterday, and we'll talk about that, was with the Pirates and the Cubs. But have the scoring increase? Has the play? Has the stats? What has increased on all of the new rules?
As far as the clock goes, I'm not going to tell you where I stand on it because I really don't know yet. I've been to a few games. I look at it like this. If I have a family of 4 and I go to a baseball game, there's some things I want to see. Not me personally, but as a family, I think people want to see excitement, right?
Right.
I think I think what the clock does, it speeds it up too much to where like the batter can't get in the head of the pitcher, and the pitcher can't get in the head of the batter. So I think I think you're getting more runs because they're automatic. They have to keep swinging the bat. They have to keep pitching the ball. I don't like it because of the family of 4. If I spend $100 or $200 on tickets, I want to maximize my time at that stadium and have a good time with my family. So we talked about this last time I was here. I don't like change. And so I don't like the clock. I don't really know if it's really been that beneficial. I mean, I don't think I like the psychological games. I like the fact where we talked about where Don Larson threw a no-hitter and his imposing pitcher, and I can't remember who it was, he threw a perfect game. Don Larson threw his opposing pitcher had a one-hitter. How exciting would it be to that game? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
You're never going to see that again.
Right. And, I know sometimes it's good to kind of step out, but at the same time, I've seen batters that mess with their gloves. I think Locane was good at that. He always fiddled with his gloves every time and took his time and all that. I see that the newer generation is the kind of a generation is kind of like a fish. They have a 5-second memory, and then they forget it, and then they bring it back. They want something to go quick. That's the reason why they have the time clock. So
on the other aspect of that, though, Brian, here's the deal. You're a bowler.
right,
You know this.
right,
If you are in your 10th frame and you have 9 strikes, and you're going in your 10th frame and you have 9 strikes,
Right.
you don't want to break up that rhythm. If
Right.
you had somebody say, wait, timeout, oh my gosh.
right.
So it's the same thing in baseball. Pitchers get in a rhythm. It's mechanics. It's muscle memory. Same thing with batters. And so I like the fact that people can step out and mess with the pitcher and mess with the batter and stuff like
Right.
that. So I do like that aspect of it.
So in other words, when somebody is throwing a no-hitter, you like the fact that somebody will bunt to try to get on to break up that no-hitter.
Absolutely.
So
The best player will always win.
There
The
you
best
go.
team, the best defense will support that pitcher no matter what.
well, that's true. And the best at doing that was Nolan Ryan. So if you did that to him,
No, listen, I know a lot about Nolan Ryan. He was a nutcase. That guy was the best at messing with people, period.
oh yeah, I'm telling you. But he could pitch forever. I mean, I
Yeah.
knew one time that he pitched 235 pitches in a game,
Yep.
which is unheard of at any point, but even right now, because if you barely got 100 pitches, you're overworking the pitcher. And then he came back, I think, on 2 days rest and pitched another
Yeah.
150 pitches. They, people today don't realize that. And I know the young kids, my kids and my grandkids, they don't understand that, unlike the old school guys.
It's all about mechanics and work, and we've talked about it a little bit before the show. Let's talk about it for 1 second. I feel, because Major League Baseball's been talking about this, doing a 6-inning mandatory. Now, when you and I played Little League, when you
Right.
and I played college ball, our pitchers would 6, 8, 10, 9 innings, whatever, they would
Right.
finish the game, right?
Right.
So here's what's happening, is what's been happening in the last 5-6 years of Major League Baseball is the pitchers are out in 4 innings, 5 innings, maybe 6. I think the average we talked about earlier was 5.5 innings is what pitchers are going, which is actually pretty well. However, what that does is it conditions your body, it conditions your joints when you throw the ball. Because I don't know if you can see this, but like when you throw the ball and you're doing all this and that and whatever you're doing, what happens is it puts pressure on your joints.
Right.
So if you're only going to pitch, if you know you have a pitcher, a starting pitcher, Brad Keller was a perfect example. He's a friend of mine. We just talked about this the other day. If you have a pitcher that's, you're only good for 4 innings, that's what you condition for. And so what that does for your body is you have to throw harder for 4 innings instead of saving yourself for 6 innings. So if you are saving yourself for 6 innings, you're putting less stress on your joints. You're throwing less of the junk and just throwing pitches. Now, when that happens, what do you think is going to happen? The pitchers are going to go through the batting order at least twice, maybe sometimes 3 times in the 6th inning. And so the batters are going to pick up on that. And what Major League Baseball is thinking is, if that happens, it's going to be more runs. And so it's good for Major League Baseball because it's going to be more exciting for the fans, because that's what the fans want right now. And it's going to reduce all the injuries that's coming out. And it allows for a little bit different pitching as far as rotations and stuff like that. So, because right now, if you look at Ohtani again, he's a player, but he can pitch. So he's listed as a player, but as a pitcher, which is unheard of. But so I think Major League Baseball should go to the 6-inning rule. I know they're putting conditions on it, but I don't even like the conditions. I think I heard on one show that they were talking about, okay, if you go 6 innings, you go 6 innings, and then there's a DH rule and stuff like that. If you don't make the 6 innings, I'm sorry, your pitcher has to hit throughout the game for the rest of the game. If your pitcher does not, it's going to be a penalty. Wow. They're going to say to where you can use a DH, National League and American League. However, if your pitcher doesn't make it, your pitcher has to pitch the rest of the game, or has to hit the rest of the game. It's one of the things that is going to be a penalty if your pitcher doesn't make it. So
now because it sounds like there's a lot of exceptions to the rule, and you said that if they don't make it 6 innings, they've got to hit. How does that work if you because like the time clock is set. If you don't pitch it within this amount of time, it's an automatic ball or automatic strike. It depends on who it was against. But on this, how does it affect it? I guess I'm not understanding that part.
They just need to install in every sport, no matter what it is, Brian. If something happens, it's a penalty. If they don't make it 6 innings, there's going to be penalties in it because they can say, well, you know what? Oh, one of the exceptions they were going to do is injuries. Well, I can say, oh, I just hurt something in my elbow, so let's bring in another pitcher.
Right.
They can't do that
well,
because
that's
now you're going to get penalized, regardless. It has to be a black and white scenario.
Right. That's what I was saying because
Right.
you were saying if they gave up 4 runs before 6 innings, if they did this, if they did that,
Yeah.
and that to me, it's not a black and white rule.
Right.
So
Well, and the thing about it is black and white if they put the rules in, but I don't like the fact that it has to be 4 innings or four runs or 100 pitches or whatever it is.
Right.
That's ridiculous to me because that's what's happening now. So they're not really changing anything.
So saying that, how has the training of pitchers affected? I mean, I know that Nolan Ryan was a totally different
Yep.
cat. He trained a total different way.
But it wasn't just Nolan Ryan back in the 70s, 80s, and even
Right.
part of the 90s. You look at Greg Maddox, you look at
Right.
John Smoltz, you look at some of these pitchers that were, that were back in those eras. They pitched 6-8 innings every game.
Right.
Lots of times they would come in and just have one reliever come in. The relievers just wasn't coming in for one pitch. They were coming in to finish the game.
Right.
So there'd be 2 pitchers in a game. And so the training would have to stop. LSU, they now have adapted the fact a couple years ago when Paul Maneri was there that they adapted the fact that our starting pitchers are only going to go 3 or 4 innings. We got plenty of depth, and so that's insane. So it starts in college baseball. We're like, well, listen, we're training these pitchers to go 3 innings, and they're blowing out their arms, they're blowing out their shoulders. Tommy John is a real thing for that. So when they get to the minor league level, they have to do a new training regimen. Slow it down, maybe not throw as hard, not throw as much junk. They're going to rely on a fastball maybe a little bit more. They're going to get rocked a little bit more. I guarantee you they're going to get rocked.
So they train, but they can throw it harder, but it affects them more? I see, that's the part I just don't get. And so with that, we are at halftime on any given Sunday on KUAW. Coach 24, Darwin Penny, his birthday's tomorrow. He's out and about. Guest baseball Shane Allen. We've got DJ Scatter behind the scenes, and I am Brian Kress, the awesome voice. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will have some more sports for you. We are back for the second half of Any Given Sunday on KUAW. Our guest is Baseball Shane Allen. And so we were talking a little baseball, and I just want to bring this up before we get with the Chiefs because we do have some Chiefs stuff that we definitely want to talk about. I am wearing Paul Skeeks. Is it Skeeks?
Skeeks.
Skeeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, Skeeks. Skeeks jersey because yesterday he pitches against the Chicago Cubs. He goes 5 innings, gives up 5 hits, 2 earned runs, walks a batter, strikes out 6. I mean, and Pittsburgh is up, I believe, something like 10-3 going into the 7th inning. Well, the bullpen just totally lays an egg. Aroldis Chapman,
Yep.
I think, gave up 3 runs in 1 inning. And we got rid of him and brought in a great pitcher ourselves for Cole Reagan. So thank you, Texas, for doing that. But they became the first team in history, or no,
Not history.
I'm sorry. The first team in the last 7 years to go up 7 runs in the 7th inning and to lose. They were 100, and all teams was 1,192-0 going into that game, and now it's 192-1.
And that one is going to haunt them for a long time.
I'm telling you what. Well, and he was going to be a Cy Young Award winner.
Yeah.
And everybody was going to give it to him at the All-Star break.
still
So,
win it.
but yeah, he may still win it. But I thought there was another pitcher, and I don't remember offhand. Now, also, since 1900, the most wins following a 100-win season or 100-loss season is 87, which was set by the 1967 Chicago Cubs and the 1989 Baltimore Orioles. And I remember them in 1988. They were horrible. They lost like 20 games in a row.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the Royals have to go 14-15 to break that record of 88. They are on pace, and I think they can get 90 wins this year.
Absolutely. I mean, we talked about in the first half of this segment, the Royals are on fire. They're playing on emotion. I mean, when you got Perez, Witt, and Vinny starting you off, and then you got your 6, 7, 8 hitters that have been doing the job. We can't lose a game right now. I mean, we will.
Right.
It's expected, but yeah, 90 can happen.
Absolutely. So we got that done. Now we're going to go with the Chiefs. Now, like we said, Chiefs 1 week from today will start the NFL with the championship, or with the game of the AFC championship game from last year. Baltimore Ravens coming into Arrowhead and facing the Chiefs Kingdom and playing us on Thursday night. It's going to be a rocking game.
It's all of our games this year are going to be rocking. So we're playing Monday night, Sunday night, Thursday night. I mean, I don't think it's like 70-80% of our games are on those 3 nights.
Right, but we are, and I had the stat, and I
Yeah.
did say it, that there is one other team in NFL history, and it was like back in the 30s or 40s. We are the first team since then to play on 6 nights a week. The only night we will not play on is Tuesday night. But the NFL and Roger Goodell will find a way to play a Tuesday night game.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about money. It's all about ratings. And so if you can put one game on TV, I think there's 2 on that night, isn't there? Isn't there?
No. There's one. Our game, the Chiefs and Ravens, and then Friday night in Germany or somewhere. Philadelphia and Green Bay.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's all about money. It's all about revenue. And it's great for the NFL. It's great for the fans.
And nobody is arguing because everybody wants to see it. So, absolutely.
So this game coming in with Baltimore, though, is a key pivotal game to start off week 1.
Mm-hmm.
Traditionally, in the last couple of years, we've lost week 1. I think we lost to Detroit last year, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And Detroit has a great team this year. I think that could be a Super Bowl matchup. Honestly, Detroit and Kansas City. However, you cannot count out Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, to me, is probably one of the best, roughest. I don't know, what am I looking for? Like, he can run. He can do everything.
Right.
Like, he is a tough competitor, and I'm not sure our defensive line can capture him and contain him. Well, that's my only fear.
Yeah, but the key is that we have the same defensive line that we had last year. So they are experienced. They know what to do. The Chiefs brought back everybody on that defensive line. Now, saying that, what would you say the one weakness is for the Chiefs? Because they really don't have any weaknesses. But if you had to pick one, what would you pick?
I'm still not 100% sold on our receivers. We have Rice. You got Kelsey, who's a tight end. I'm just not convinced of our receivers yet. We don't have that big ability. I'm not talking about a big name, the big ability to make those big plays. Like, I'll be honest with you, when the Cheetah was here, he made big plays for us. We don't have that. Can Rice step that up? He's got some things going on legally, so we don't know what's going to happen there. But I just don't think we have the receivers to support Patrick Mahomes yet. I think we'll get there. We don't have them yet.
Well, I think Rice will not have to worry about any off issues,
right,
unless he gets in more trouble. But right now, that's not the same. But I'm thinking the cornerbacks,
right,
because the Chiefs tried to bring in 3 cornerbacks from the waiver line and only got 1. So that kind of tells you a little bit. It's like, okay, they're not 100% confident on that. But saying that, they really have a great team, and they have a great player with a great pet.
With a great pet? Who's that?
Oh, that'd be Carson Steele.
That guy. Listen, last year I was at the draft parties. I'm a season ticket member. And was it Karlaftis last year or the year before?
He was 2 years ago.
2 years ago. He came on stage and says, we're going to bring the violence back to the kingdom. And it just did something for the Chiefs fans. It just lit a spark. Steele is the same thing. Like, I think everybody's talking about Steele right now. I don't know if we really know what his role exactly is going to be. Just like we didn't know what Pacheco was going to be when he came here, and he came out to be a great running back. Same thing with Hill.
Right.
I don't think we know what Steele's role is, but a lot of people are excited. I'm excited to see where he ends up.
Oh, absolutely. And I think he's going to play more of the fullback role.
Yep.
We need somebody can get 1 yard, because it seemed like 3rd and 10, we could get it all day long. But 3rd and 1, it seemed like there was a travesty, and it was very difficult to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I think Steele can fill them shoes. Very new. It's tough to come in to this league and be a mainline starter. So I think we're going to need he's going to have to play a dual role with another player to be named.
Yep, and I like Kingston
going
to be the starting left tackle. Hey, look, if Reed had never put a rookie on the offensive line, starting offensive line. So he's got him starting at left tackle. So this guy must have been really lights out, or at least enough to press Andy Reid, which is the most important person.
Yeah, I mean, Andy Reid is hard to impress. I don't really know a lot about this guy. I haven't really read up or anything about this guy. But if Andy Reid is going to put anybody anywhere, and like we got rid of Tony this week.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. But like, you're either in with Andy or you're out with Andy. I think Tony came into this season thinking he had a spot, and he did not.
Yeah. Everybody but Tony thought he was gone.
Yeah.
So, and then he ended up going with Jim Harbaugh at the L.A. Chargers. So good luck, Jim Harbaugh, with that. So when his first catch goes through his hands and into the defensive hands, and it goes pick 6, I want to see your reaction when that happens.
What's your thoughts on Hardman? Did you lose your sound?
Yes, I lost my sound.
Well, as he's messing with sound, I mean, I like Hardman. I think he's a great player. I think he has some learning to do. I think he has some.
No, I've got it now. It just separated. So.
Got it?
Yep. I'm good now. So.
All right. So Hardman, like I was saying, I think he's got some learning to do. I think he has some ability. I think he has a lot of learning to do.
Right. Well, I know that the Chiefs tried to get a lot younger, and they needed that because I think with especially a 17-game season and the fact that they're going for a three-peat, which has never, ever happened before in the NFL. And I keep saying this, and I'm going to always say it. The Packers did do it, but the Packers played in the NFL only the first year, and then they won back-to-back Super Bowls in the first 2. Saying that, the Chiefs would be the first team in Super Bowl history with 3 in a row. Saying that, how do you think their chances are of getting it?
50-50. And the only reason why I say that is because it's any given Sunday. It's anybody can win on any given Sunday. There is, I'm not going to say, I hate to say luck, but because we are dealing with professional players, but like people have off days. Patrick Mahomes will have off days. We will lose 6 games this year. We will. 5, 6, whatever it's going to be. I don't see the dominance that we've seen a few years ago. We didn't have dominance last year. We came back to the end of the season, and then we dominated the last 6, 8 games to do well. And that's what's tough being a Chiefs fan, is because seems like we're always down at halftime. We're always down halfway through the season, and we got to wait for Mahomes and Kelsey to pick up the pace and start winning. Man, can we just start winning out the gate? Can we do that? So if the Chiefs can do that this year, I think they have a chance. If we don't have our good the first 4 or 5 games aren't that great, we're in trouble.
Right. Well, and they play 5 games, and then they go into the bye. So those are going to be key. The first 2 games are the most important because they're playing Baltimore, who challenged them last year in the AFC Championship. And then you've got Cincinnati, which really is the only team that's been in the Super Bowl outside of Kansas City the last 5 years.
Yeah. So, we play Cincinnati here.
Yes.
And we've played them there last year, I think, in Cincinnati, or the year before that. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, those are some great players. It's a great combination. Whenever I see the schedule that we're playing Cincinnati, and I got friends in Cincinnati, and I know Cincinnati team well because I got a lot of friends that live in Cincinnati, that is a tough team. Year by year by year, in the last 5, 6 years, they're tough. I mean, all the teams are tough. There's easier teams.
Right.
But Cincinnati's a tough win. We have a tough schedule this year. We really do.
Oh, we do, and I'm not going to deny that at all. But saying that, as long as Joe Burrow is back, they will be. The Chiefs will always have a difficult time, and I would favor that Cincinnati would go far in the playoffs. Now, saying this, you've got Jamar Chase right now, and you've got a general manager who pinches pennies harder than my mother does. And my mother had a reason why she's pinching pennies. He doesn't, and he doesn't want to pay this wide receiver. And if he doesn't play this year, you're getting a lot of animosity in Cincinnati. And it showed last year with Burrow out, and then a lot of players not doing as well as they were because they had a lot of other issues.
If Jamar Chase is not on that team, they're not going to go anywhere.
No.
I'm going to tell you that right now. The camaraderie will be done.
Well,
absolutely done.
Well, the AFC North is already considered one of the toughest divisions in football. You got Baltimore, you've got Cincinnati. When they are fully loaded, they are just as good as Baltimore. You have Pittsburgh, who you can never deny out, even though you've got Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, and both of those quarterbacks don't even match.
Then you got the Browns,
Patrick
right?
Mahomes, huh?
Then the Browns, right? After
and
that.
then you got the Browns.
That's a tough division.
Well, and Watson, they were better without Watson than they were with Watson.
Right.
So, but they are still the toughest division right now in football, as I would say if I had to pick one. And you just in Pittsburgh, here's Pittsburgh's schedule. The first 11 games are not that bad. But the last from week 11 to 18, they play all 6 games in the division, and then they play like Philadelphia and Kansas City.
That's just not fair.
That is brutal.
That
is brutal.
Especially when they're going to have 3 or 4 or 5 injuries. That's the worst time of year to play some of your divisional games. It really is.
I know, and I almost feel sorry for Pittsburgh, but I don't, because I want Kansas City to go three-peat. And we have gotten so acclimated to winning, so acclimated of going to the AFC Championship game. Last year was the first time we did it on the road, and we still did it. We did it in Buffalo. We did it in Baltimore. Everybody was like, okay, they're on the road. That ended, and they kept going through and kept playing. So,
which, can I say this about that Buffalo game?
Yes.
I think in all the years Mahomes has been there, 6 years, 5 years, I think that was his best performance I've ever seen in my life.
Which one? The 13-second?
The Buffalo game last year.
Last year.
That we won. And, I mean, that is insane to go to Buffalo and win a game. I've seen games there. You think our fans are insane? They are insane. So it's tough to go to Buffalo and win a game.
Well, I remember watching the game in '94 with Joe Montana banging his head on the ground from the cold and being knocked out. And that it was just brutal. Yeah. And Kansas City had a shot until the ball went through the hands of Anders and into the defensive back's hand, and it would just seem like it went away. But yeah, everybody was talking. Josh Allen and Buffalo fans, they were all talking.
They thought they were done. I mean,
Right.
they thought we were already beat because the fans had to come out from Buffalo and help shovel the stadium.
Right.
They literally had 2,000 fans or whatever to bring shovels and shovel out the stadium. I mean, thank God we live in Kansas City where we're used to some of that. Otherwise,
Right.
maybe if it was Miami or any other Southern team, they might have been in trouble for that game.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, had already played in one of the coldest games in
Right.
the history of the league. So, but yeah, I'm picking Kansas City to go to the Super Bowl. First go to the AFC Championship game. They will do it again, and Mahomes has been here since 2017. So this will be the 7th AFC Championship game in a row for him. They will go to the Super Bowl. They will go down to New Orleans. They will win, and they will go three-peat. Now, I don't know who they're going to play yet.
Detroit.
I haven't decided. He has. I haven't.
I think it's Detroit or Green Bay. That's my prediction.
Well, those are not bad decisions.
Yeah.
So, San Francisco would have something to say about that. But I
San
think
Francisco's getting stacked. Let's just be honest. They're
Right.
getting stacked. So
but if they don't have Trent Williams playing,
Yeah.
then Brock Purdy is going to be beaten up like he was against Philadelphia in that NFC Championship game 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So, but
and you can't never count out Cowboys. Dak Prescott.
No.
I know he fails in the playoffs, but he's still a top quarterback.
Right.
Jalen Hurts for Philadelphia, you can never count him out. I think he's probably one of the better, faster quarterbacks in the league right now. I like Jalen Hurts. I just think he needs more support, and he needs more coaching as well.
Well, yeah, but the Sirianni is Sirianni.
Yeah.
I got it. He's not that great of a coach.
No.
So he needs a Andy Reid type coach to get him over the hump.
Yep.
And saying that, he lost Jason Kelsey. So when you lose a center like that, because the Chiefs re-upped Humphrey's contract, so he's there for another 4 years. So that it's taken care of, or I should say that he after this year, so for another 5 years or so. But camaraderie is very, very important. That's why the Chiefs have all the interlock players all together. And when you move everybody around and you think you can pick up players from every team and think you can make a team, it's not necessarily true. So
The Yankees have proved you can't do that.
no. Well, I mean, baseball tried to do that. That's why the Royals were as good as they were in 14 and 15.
Yep.
They kept the
People no one knew.
the nucleus.
Yeah.
They brought in a couple of players, just like the Chiefs are doing this year. But you still have the main stuff. Because you still say, I have Patrick, I have Kelsey, I have the Chris Jones. I have Karlaftis. So, I mean, it just.
Well, we also have depth too.
Right.
So we know because the Chiefs just picked up a new wide receiver yesterday or the day before. I can't remember his name, but I was looking at his stats. He's actually a good wide receiver. I'm sorry, a good tight end. A good tight end.
Oh,
in case Kelsey gets hurt.
From Dallas.
Right, yeah.
Peyton something.
Yeah. I can't think of his name.
Shoot or something.
He is a great backup to Kelsey. Our backup quarterback now, I like that situation there. I honestly feel just like who was our guy 2 years ago that came in and stepped in for 4 games and, and we won the Super Bowl. Why are we having brain like this? But anyway, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have been in the Super Bowl.
Right.
So we need those
Exactly.
backups because I guarantee it, Mahomes may have to sit out a game. Pacheco, Mahomes, Kelsey, or Hardman, or Rice, one of them will get hurt.
Right.
And so we need those backups.
With the exception of Mahomes, Kelsey was out.
Yep.
Pacheco was out.
Yep.
I mean, even Chris Jones was out.
Yep.
So, yeah, and Nick Bolton, who is a great linebacker, I don't see them continuing on keeping him after his contract because as great as he is, and he'll hit everything and everybody, your best ability is availability, and, if you're always nicked up, it's just going to make it hard. And look, guys, I am a fan of Nick Bolton because he went to Mizzou, go Mizzou tonight, and everything. And it just sometimes you just got to get rid of him. But right now,
it's all about productivity. If you're not going to produce, you have to go somewhere else. Right?
When did he play in preseason? He did not play at all in preseason. So, and I know sometimes you rest him up Even Patrick even played a couple of plays just
Right.
to get things warmed up. But Nick Bolton was doing it more to stay healthy, and that's just not good. So.
Well, it's not good for the team. The reason why they have spring training, the reason why they have training camps in these preseason games is to get into the rhythm, get into the muscle memory we talked about earlier.
Right.
You get into that rhythm and stuff like that. If he's not in a rhythm, you don't expect him to do well in week 1 or 2 or whenever he comes back.
Right, absolutely. And I've got Chad, and I cannot think of his
Henne.
last. Yeah, Chad Henne.
Henne.
There we go. Yeah, we did it as
We don't even know his name, and he won us a Super Bowl. He
Yes.
played 4 or 5 games and did well. He
Yeah.
won us, and we
Well,
forgot his
actually,
name
he won-
already.
He won 2 Super Bowls, actually, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that one year, 2 years ago, not last Super Bowl, the Super Bowl before that,
Well, he went.
he
was-
played 5 games for us and won like 4 of the 5.
Right, but
Yeah.
but then I think it was the one game that we had with no offensive line.
Right.
That was the year where we lost
Yeah.
our only Super Bowl. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And so San Francisco not having Trent Williams, if you thinking that you're going to play the season without him, then you better go back and watch that Tampa Bay Kansas City Super Bowl from a few years ago and just see exactly what happened to Patrick Mahomes, because Patrick would have won had he had a halfway decent line, and he had no line. So
Yeah. What'd you think of, and I know I'm getting off topic, what'd you think of Patrick's behind the back?
Oh, I thought that was cool, and he's trying to say that he was mad at Kelsey,
Yeah.
but that was the perfect time. It was okay, and people were like, well, they didn't win any games, or the teams that won every single game, they're going to be marking. No, usually every team that goes undefeated in the preseason is usually going to be in the cellar in their own division at the end of the year.
Last
So-
year we won 2 out of 3, so I'm not worried about preseason.
No,
at
I
all.
don't. I don't either. I just
mean, if
want.
you're going to do behind the back because you're mad at somebody who didn't, and it's Kelsey, and he ran the wrong route, that's the time to be like, hey,
Right.
That's insane.
Exactly.
That's insane. Loved it.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
but they knew he was going to do it, so it wasn't like totally out of the realm.
Yeah.
But it wasn't planned.
Does he do
either.
that in a regular season game? That's tough.
I would only say that he do it in the regular season when it's out of necessity. He's not going to plan. He's not going to
It's
say.
not going to
"Okay."
be 1st and 10 and do that. It's going to be 4th or 3rd and 2. That's when he's going to do it, right?
Right, and it's not a planned play. It's just
Right.
like out of the blue. It's like, oh my gosh, it was like throwing the left hand.
Yeah.
He didn't plan on throwing it left-handed. It just happened that way.
So you
because,
played football?
Because oh yeah,
Okay, so I played football. What you see on TV and what you see on the field is ridiculous. I didn't play a lot of football, just in high school. I guarantee you have 1 second, maybe a split second to make a decision which way you're going to go. And that's how our beautiful mind works. I mean, we don't even
Right.
think about it. It's instinct. And just to have the audacity to throw left-handed or do what he does is literally insane when you got 320-pound people coming after you like that, knowing you're going to get hit
Right.
to make a decision like that. His mind is different from everybody else. C.J. Stroud might be up there, too, so I'm starting to like him more and more.
oh
but
yeah, I do too.
Mahomes' mind is just, it's different, and he brought a new game to the NFL when he got here to start doing stuff like that. Because now you're starting to see other people starting to do what he's doing.
Right, exactly. And here's the thing about Patrick Mahomes. Remember when he did the 5,050 touchdown year? He didn't know how to read offenses at that time. Or I mean defenses at that time. He can read defenses now.
Yeah.
I mean, he is phenomenal, and he is. You always say your best teams always have the best star that's the best worker. Chicago Bulls are the best example.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan was the hardest worker. In the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, they are the hardest workers. And when you see your top guys working hard, I mean, Derek Thomas, I love him to death, but he was not one of those practice guys where he practiced all the time. He played hard in the game, and he was phenomenal in the game. But he wasn't like one of those guys. But when you have guys like Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, you can't say nothing. You can't be a guy trying to fight for a spot and go, oh, well, I'm going to slack it because the leaders are – because the leaders ain't slacking.
No, they're not. It's just like in baseball. They got so many divisions, so many leagues. There's always somebody trying to get your spot. We talked about a guy earlier on the phone, Sebastian Gutierrez, who's played with the Chiefs, who's played with the Raiders, who's played with Denver. He can't make a team. But I guarantee you that guy's putting in 120% every time to try to get on that team, and there's
Right.
30 other guys trying to get that same spot. So if you're not on your A game, you will not be there long.
Oh, no, absolutely. So, and we are at the end of Any Given Sunday on KUAW. baseball. Shane Allen, thank you for coming out. We're going to enjoy golfing tomorrow because it is Labor Day weekend. So everybody, please, I know you want to hit the lake. I know it's nice and warm out there. So you guys are going to do that. Whatever you do, be safe about it. With DJ Scatter, George Walker behind the scenes, Coach 24 Darwin Penny, happy birthday. I miss you, brother, and we're going to celebrate your birthday when you get back. I am Brian Cressy, Awesome Voice. Be awesome, not angry, and you guys have yourself a phenomenal sports holiday weekend.